All right. So on this other screen over here, we have a client and a friend of mine, John Victorino. And John has been working with me for a little bit now and is also inside the Authority Income Accelerator program. So, John, why don't you give everybody a quick intro about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is John Victorino. I run an agency, and our main market is working with contractors mainly, and that's been our focus for the past couple of years now. Yeah.
Nice, nice, man. And when you first started working with us, kind of like what were you doing monthly, if you don't mind answering that?
So before we started working together, it would vary a little bit, but usually somewhere between the 8 to 15K range was where I was sitting. The best months I had were about 15K. And then depending on how many clients I was getting and things like that, it could, just go from there.
Yeah, just like any business, it's always ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So where, like, I know we just kind of got talking, speaking of ups and downs, like where's like since you started working with us, like what's the highest that your business has been at?
34K recurring.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And I think we were kind of joking around and talking on the call the other week about how you're expanding this, and you said that you're bringing on your wife to start doing sales so she can leave her job. Is that right?
Yeah, so she's actually training right now. I'm having her doing some prospecting just because I want her to experience what it's like to actually do the outreach and actually book the discovery calls. And then from there, we'll have her do the discovery calls and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's really been all about just the outreach, getting more messages out there and having a proven process that we can do over and over again to consistently bring in new business.
Yeah, 100%. That's where a lot of businesses that we work with, we notice struggle. But I think something even more important, like that you specifically are really good at, man, is getting your clients results. Would you mind shedding a little bit of light on that? Because I know a lot of people, when they get into business, that's one of the main things they struggle with is just getting their clients good ROI results. And you're crushing it for your clients. And every time I look on Facebook or Instagram, you're posting something new about your clients making all this money. Like, would you mind elaborating a little bit about that and like the importance of it?
So that is definitely the first thing that needs to be nailed down, is having a proven system and a proven offer. And that's something that you're really big on, is creating just like a no-brainer offer, bulletproof offer. When I started to sign clients through your process, a lot of it was also giving them, freebies and trials just so I could nail down the process on my end. But once I had, clients that were closing 30, 40, 50K jobs, 100K, deals, it was just such a game changer in building my confidence. I mean, that's actually something that I'm passing on to my wife. Like, I ask her, like, I mean, the first thing you got to do is believe in the product, right? She's like, oh, I mean, I believe, like, you tell me all the time about all your clients closing these deals and things like that. So having that belief and confidence and actually being able to deliver for your clients when you sign them, it's a huge part of being able to sell.
Yeah. And like you said, when you have that offer in play, it's just like it brings a different type of confidence to the game when you're on the call. And I think I remember you saying that is like when you get on a call with someone, they're a good fit, you're like, you're going to be stupid if you don't sign up because like our clients are making this much money. And I think it's also like building the testimonials and case studies that you generated yourself to just help present the opportunity even more than it is.
Yeah, man. And so I didn't have this before, but having just a testimonial page to where if someone was even on the fence, they're like, hey, you want to know what I want to think about it? Can we touch base tomorrow? I'm like, all right, man, here's a link to my website. Go read some of my testimonials. Go check out some of these client interviews. And I've actually have had prospects come back just fired up to the demo call just because of having just all those proof elements and testimonials.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, dude. It's like you want to have a product that sells itself. And like I love having you on this call because you're like a perfect example of the type of clients that go through our system and just do exactly what we say and get results. So
Yeah.
like, could you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think one of the big things that we've noticed when sometimes when people go through any sort of program or other programs I've been in, sometimes there's just little things they don't follow and like they don't get the results they want. And like for you, every time we tell you, every time you hop on a car, you're like, what should we do? Like, hey, go do this. You implement it right away. And I think that's like a huge component of just listening and following the steps of how it's been done.
Yeah. So my biggest advice to people joining the program is just trust the process. You know, like when we had our discovery call, I think it was about a year ago when we first got connected. I knew that in my business, the main bottleneck was having more conversations with business owners, right? And that was the thing that for the first 9 months of me being in your program, I think we talked about this. I did like 100 and I think it's like 160 something discovery calls. I did like 30, 40 demo calls, but I didn't close a single deal from that first go at it. But I knew in my head that this is exactly what I needed, right? I needed reps and I needed more conversations with business owners. And it's just from there, figuring out the message, right? How do I get them intrigued in my offer? How do I get them to, think that what I offer is valuable for them to say yes and, pay me the money I want to get paid. So it's really just trusting that process that, like a lot of people sell the 90 days. And I did see people in your program that, hit their goals that they wanted to hit within 90 days. For me, I wasn't like that. I was like hitting my head against the wall for a good 6-9 months before I started closing. But then once I started to close people, it's like, okay, now I have a repeatable process. It's just doing that over and over again. And now I close at the very least 2 deals a month, sometimes 5. It's just now getting on the phone call. And I know if I can get 3 people on a Zoom call, I'll close 1 out of them. I know that if I book, 5 discovery calls, 1 or 2 of them will be in a Zoom call. Like it's just knowing those numbers to be able to scale. And I always think whenever I hop on a discovery call, I'm like 1 phone call away from getting a closed deal. And that's just that's a cool feeling.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate the honesty too, because I think a lot of people like look at, and I love social media, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of people like don't really understand like how to navigate it through the right way. Meaning like a lot of people go on social media and they see people living the best life, like closing deals, just posting paychecks and all this stuff. And it's like, they just compare themselves to that. And they're like, oh, well, business is fast, business is easy, business is simple. And it's like, it can be simple, but it's in reality, like business is really hard. And that's why, like, when you're first starting your business, like you mentioned there, like you have to have those reps. You have to have that repetitiveness of doing something because like I was, when you said that, it made me think of like when I first got started, I was going door to door pitching services. And I'll never forget, man, like the first service I ever went into to pitch, it was just like some basic, rundown shop. And I went in there and I couldn't even speak, like words didn't come out of my mouth. And I was so embarrassed. I just like ran out, but it was like momentum, like get me going. I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. It can't be that hard, but it's like exactly what you said. You have to have those reps. And for some people, it's a little bit faster than the other, but like, you just have to have reps in business to get better. And like, especially with you, because I remember we were talking, you're like, dude, I'm having all these calls. Like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, you just got to trust the process. Like, it's going to pick up. And then like out of nowhere, you just came, you're like, close deal, close deal, close deal, close deal. And next thing we know, we're sitting here and you're having like 40K reoccurring months. And it's like, some people from the outside would look at that and be like, oh, well, it just happened overnight. It's like, oh, I mean, you're living proof. Like it takes time to build this stuff up.
Yeah. It's just practice, you got to suck at first to get good. Right. And you can't skip those steps. And I mean, some people have backgrounds in sales that, is a good base to when they start joining your program. I think is just, it just transfers over. I didn't have that. Like, even though I've built my business to like the 10, 15K recurring, I did that with very minimal like sales calls. So it was like mostly from referrals and things like that. So it was really easy to close them. But what I was doing now when we joined your program is reaching out to people who I've never met before, cold, and then taking them from a cold prospect to a sold deal. And it was really interesting because before joining your program, like it would take me months. Like I'm not even joking, months to sell somebody, right? From like a referral to kind of walking them through the process. And then from there, it's like a back and forth to now I could reach out to a cold prospect today and have a deal signed by today. Like I've had a same deal close from cold prospect to doing the sales call same day to having a signed deal. And that has definitely changed my business just because now it's just such a quick turnaround that I can, just if I just answer more, get on more phone calls, talk to more people, more money flows in. It's just become so simple.
It's just a KPI game, man. Like that's the
Yep.
main thing that we preach inside this business is like, you got to know your KPIs and you got to be able to just listen to and not trust your emotions. And I think also going back to like, just talking about like following instructions and just doing what you're supposed to, like you always came on calls. Like one thing, you would always be on calls. Like that's the one thing I really appreciated from you. Like there was never an excuse where a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I forgot, or I was out golfing with my dad, or I was doing this. And it's like you were on every call. And that's the first step of just showing up, but also the other step of just like whenever we ask a question, we're like, all right, show us your KPIs. You'd always have your sheet and be like, these are my numbers. I'm like, that's how we can help you out. So it's like a lot of people think there's just like one magic button you got to click to like make a business work. And it's like, no, it's just the fine details that nobody else talks about, tracking your KPIs, looking at your numbers, getting feedback, implementing over and over again is what gets you results, man. So I applaud you for that, man. I really do. I think a lot of people can't do that. They can do it, but they just don't. And it's like, that's what separates people that see success on the online space compared to the ones that give up and quit, say, this isn't for me.
Yeah, I think especially with the digital marketing space, you kind of talked about it earlier. It's just, oh, it must be easy to get to those 10, 20, 30K months. And, you're just on the beach all day. Like, no, I mean, I've locked myself in this office for 8, 10 hours a day for weeks and weeks at a time to try and figure this out. But now that it's there, it's like, you know, it's just collecting cash at this point.
Exactly, man. I mean, what other business model can you like get in where you put in the work for, let's say, like a year or two solid, and then after that, you start hiring the right team members, and like you said, like you can just dictate where you want to go. And I know we had that conversation not too long ago about like how big do you actually want to grow this business, and that's a logical thing for a lot of people is like, you know, bringing in 50 to 50K a month. Like some people, like that's literally life changing for the rest of their life, right? Like everyone's
Yeah.
chasing like, I have to have 100K, I have to make 1 million a month. It's like, not if you have the right margins in play, because what we were kind of joking around about was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, e-commerce, you can make a lot of money, but a lot of e-com people, they inflate their numbers like, oh, I made 20K this month or 50K this month, but their profit margin is like 5%. It's like with this, if you have your KPIs and your profit numbers or your profit margins in play, like, dude, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing that I sometimes think back on is just like the types of conversations that we had a year ago to now, right? Like a year ago, it was like, oh man, how do I figure out this prospecting or blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, where do we want to take the business? And that happened in a year,
Yeah.
you know,
It's crazy.
like the conversation before was like, oh my God, where am I going to get my next client? Now it's like, okay, how do we scale the business to where I don't have to be in it?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a weird, but welcome shift for sure.
It is, man. It is. And I'm really proud of you, bro. Like, I really mean that. Like, you deserve everything that's coming to you. And like, it's been awesome working with you and continue working with you. What would you say for somebody that, most of the clients that come to us, they kind of similar to where you were, they were doing, around 10K a month, or like even our audience, like, what would you say to someone that's kind of like in this space that, like, what's your biggest advice, I would say?
Just do it. But, do it. And then you also got to do the work. Right. So if you're on the fence, if you're stuck in your business, if you have struggles getting clients, I was in that same spot. Literally, the fix is have more conversations with business owners and then create a process that you can count on the numbers to be able to bring in more deals. I mean, that's been the game changer over the past, year plus that I've been working with you, is, having the confidence that literally if I put in enough work, money's going to come in. And now it's not a problem to where, oh my God, where am I going to get my next client? Is I know I just do this process and clients are going to come in.
Exactly. And then when you get it down, you can go buy yourself a Rolex and reward
Yes,
yourself.
sir.
Still
Always
rock.
wear it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for hopping on, man. For all of you guys watching this, I hope this was inspirational for you. What we always say is you have two directions. One, you could go learn it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone comes from different points. The only problem with that is it's going to take more time. And again, that's why we're putting out videos and contexts like this to help you do that. But there's always the other option where if you're like John over here and you want to fast track your results, we'll leave a link down below where you can apply to work with us. But again, John, thank you so much for hopping on. If you guys have any questions or anything, just feel free to drop them down below and we'll get back to you.
Cool.